Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell in the upper right-hand corner. Follow me on all forms of social media. Check me out at thatdrummerguy.com and enjoy the following presentation.
Oh,
Hey, how's it going?
how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Thank you very much for taking time to do this interview.
No problem, Josh. Where are you from? Are you calling from Wisconsin or something?
It's a Wisconsin number, but I'm actually in Minnesota.
Oh, gotcha. Are you a football fan or no?
I try to keep up from time to time, yeah. It's a little hard this season with the NFC North.
Okay, yeah. I saw Wisconsin. I automatically thought of a friend of mine that's a Packers fan, and yeah, he's not very happy right now.
Yeah.
Although my wife is from Minnesota, and so I'm an Eagles fan. I think that's pretty much everybody in the world knows at this point I'm an Eagles fan. But my wife and her family are from Minnesota, so the Vikings are hanging in there. But yeah, I was just curious. I just saw Wisconsin on the phone and said, "Oh man."
Oh yeah, the Vikings are doing way better than the Packers this year, which is just a weird thing to think about.
I know. Well, the Packers are always so damn good all the time that it's just odd to think, wow, Packers are not even in the playoffs at all. It's man, I don't know what's going on up there, but it's not good.
Not at all. But speaking of things that are good, gotta talk about this brand new album from Hate Eternal, Upon Desloate Sands, which is available now through Season of Mist. Easily one of, if not my favorite, Hate Eternal album to date so far, and it's awesome to be able to talk to you about it. I've talked to you a few times in the past when you've been here in Minnesota. It's great to be able to catch up after all this time to be able to talk about it.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for the compliment. It's one of my proudest achievements, not only as a musician but as a producer. So, I'm very proud of what we accomplished with this album.
Yeah, and with that in mind, I mean, just about 2 months after its release, I mean, when you look at it from hindsight, what's it like to finally have this album out now?
It's funny because sometimes, to be honest with you, sometimes like when I finish an Eternal record, because it's so much work and I have so much emotion and everything involved because I'm singing, I'm playing guitar, I'm producing it, mixing it. There's so much that goes into these Eternal records. I mean, it's unbelievable how much work it goes into these. Sometimes it takes me quite some time to really be able to reflect on it. But with this album, it's like as I was proofing the masterings, and you can imagine towards the end of finishing the album, there's so much proofing going on, proofing the layout, proofing the lyrics, proofing the credits, proofing the different mastered versions, the iTunes version, the vinyl version, the CD version, the download version. So much proofing. Somehow this record, of all the records I've done with Hate Eternal, this record I just knew, man. I knew when I was finishing this record. Usually by that point I'm just like, Jesus, I just want to finish it, not think about it, even though I know I'm going to do like 8,000 interviews soon. I have to put it out of my brain for a while to clear the brain, and it takes me a while to reflect. But for this record, man, when we were finishing this thing, man, I just knew. I was like, man, it's such a great feeling to feel like, fuck, I nailed it, man. I was very excited about how the record sounds, about the songs, about everything about this record. I feel so great about. So it's a tremendous feeling, and it's something that I feel proud of all the records we've done. But Upon Desloate Sands has a very special place for me, just because it's like the first record with Hate Eternal where I just, like I said, I just had this moment of knowing, man, this is such a enormous feat for what we've done, and I just felt very proud and happy, and I'm a perfectionist kind of guy, so I'm not easily pleased. But with this record, I just felt like, man, it's just another album to build off of for the next one, and I'm so proud of how it came out. Very excited about it.
Yeah, and that's so great to hear that too. I mean, especially when you can be so proud of everything that you are able to do. I mean, with everything you said, you do so much in Hate Eternal. I mean, let alone being able to play on it and play it live and everything. I mean, it's great to see that inspiration and creativity is going to be carrying over to the next album as well, if you're this excited about it.
It does. You know what? The one thing about, man, I'm a very creative person, and not only that, I'm just always inspired. I feel so inspired all the time, man, and a lot of that just comes from my inner self. I mean, I'm just a very inspired person, and definitely doing a record like Upon Desloate Sands and knowing that the way it came out and the fans' response on top of it, like, you know, the fans have been so happy about the new record, and that, of course, is kind of like the cherry on top, you know. And so it definitely it just feeds me, you know, it feeds me more inspiration, of course, that, you know, just okay, well, and Furnace did that for me as well. Like, you know, I just try to build off of every record we do and learn from it and make the best record we possibly can.
And with that, I mean, being a drummer myself, I mean, I've always loved the drum production and the drums that go into each Hate Eternal album. And this go-around, you got one of the best drummers in the entire world, Hannes Grossman, playing in Hate Eternal now. What was it like to record him for this album?
Well, Hannes, man, you know, Hannes is such a fantastic drummer and a great person and really hardworking and super talented. And, you know, man, I could say a million great things about Hannes and working with him. And, you know, for me, after being a guy that's played with, man, I've played with, you know, honestly, I mean, realistically, I've played with the best drummers in the genre, you know, at least most of them at this point. And, you know, working with Hannes, he's the ultimate professional, the consummate pro, and always, you know, I worked him really hard, too. I'm sure if you were to ask Hannes this question, like, man, what was it like working with him? Well, it was awesome. He worked my ass off because I pushed him hard because, you know, a guy like Hannes that has so much talent and the ability to play anything, I just really pushed him to get the best out of him that I could. And it was an absolute pleasure working with Hannes, and he did such a fantastic job on the album. And, you know, he's a guy that just, I'm really specific with some things sometimes, you know, whether it's accents or cymbals or even fills or drum beats. You know, I understand drumming very well, and I credit that to the fact that my whole career I played with amazing drummers. I mean, my whole career has been littered with the best, and so I really have a clear understanding of drums. And so I'd be like, hey, Hannes, I'm not sure about that. What about this? You know, and like give him 2 minutes and he's playing it, you know, because he's just that talented. So it was an absolute pleasure, and then really excited how the drums sound on the record. They sound very organic and natural, and I was able to really keep the authenticity of Hannes's feel and playing ability and his performances, you know, and I think that really, you can really feel that in Upon Desloate Sands.
So with that in mind, I mean, obviously you want to push every drummer that you have to be able to be the best that they possibly can. With this album, was there any particular moments in the album that you really tried to push him to like get the best that he could?
Man, I would say, man, God, there were some songs that were harder than others to record for sure. Man, I don't think I can pick out a specific moment because all the songs are hard. Every song on this record is pretty hard, but I mean, we were so thorough about everything. You know, he has a studio over there, so I would send him pre-pro with guitar and click track, and then also sometimes like with sequence drums on Spirit Drum, just like, hey, loose guide. But you know, I like to work with the drummer. You know, it's rare that maybe I'll come up with a killer drum beat and I'll be like, hey, can you play this? But I like to work with the drummer, especially when you play with somebody like Hannes, who has great ideas himself. So, you know, he would send me back demos with him recording the songs, you know, and then we go back and forth. Then he came here for a month and worked with me on pre-pro and then recorded the album. So we were really thorough about this album. And I'd say the whole album was hard, you know, I mean, for everybody involved. So I can't really specifically pick one moment because the whole album was that moment.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And that's what I love about every single Hate Eternal album, where I can feel that it's getting more intricate, more precise, and the production just keeps getting better and better, but it's also so cohesive at the same time. Like, you can understand what's going on if you just build upon listening to it, and you're able to dissect all these moments, and that's what I love about every subsequent Hate Eternal album.
Well, thank you. You know, Hate Eternal is a demanding listen. You know, it's not like the type of thing you really have as background music. You know, it's kind of like it involves like a dedication to it. You know, because there's just so much involved. But the one thing I really do try to focus on is capturing the clarity of all the instrumentation and then tight performances, so you can understand what's going on in a really complex way. And that's something that I pride myself on. And you know, when you're working with guys like Hannes and JJ, who are the best at what they do. Man, it obviously makes my job a lot easier when you're working with amazing musicians like those guys. And I don't do so bad myself. So I'm not too shabby on my instrument either. So it definitely works out.
Absolutely. And a great thing about that, I mean, obviously when you're able to get these great studio performances, is being able to translate it into a live setting. And it's an amazing opportunity that you guys got to be able to tour so soon after the album release on such a great tour. What was that like for you to be able to tour like that?
It's fantastic. It was actually, man, this tour was one of the best tours that we've done, opening for Cannibal Corpse, being main support for them. And to tour with our record our record came out, and then 3 days later we were on tour with Cannibal Corpse, 5-week tour in America. It was fantastic. It was such a great experience. And playing some of these new songs live, it's just the whole process of writing the song, recording the song, releasing the record, and then transposing it to the stage. I mean, there's something special about that every time, man, I just always feel like, God damn, this is the best. I mean, it's such an incredible feeling to be able to do this. And, the people you meet on the road, some people, I was just saying this in an interview previously today, is, you go on the road, and I can't tell you how many people I met on this tour that were introducing me to their sons. Like, hey, I met you in 95 on Domination, and now I'm bringing my 18-year-old son to see you. I'm playing like generations of people following my career. It's just so humbling. And to be able to release this record and get right on tour is something that I wanted to do for this record. And obviously it couldn't have been any better circumstances. So it was really exciting. It was a great tour. It was great getting out there and playing these songs, and man, I had a total blast.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I mean, unfortunately, the tour didn't make it up my way towards Minnesota, but I'm hoping something in 2019 or something like that, where I'll get the opportunity to be able to hear these songs live, because if they're this crushing in the studio, I can only imagine what they sound like live.
Oh, yeah, I know. This is like this only hit so many markets, so I know we'll definitely be doing another tour in 2019 to hit all the markets we haven't, and certainly that would include probably St. Paul or Minneapolis.
Oh, fantastic. I'm glad to hear that too, and I'm glad to see the overwhelming response to the album too. I mean, I know there's a lot of people out there just like me who are thinking that this is the best Hate Eternal album to date, and then being able to represent those songs live, especially so quickly after the album came out, and such a great tour with like Cannibal Corpse. I mean, being able to tour with a band like that, and just like really getting everyone psyched up for Cannibal Corpse while absolutely being crushing on your own rights. I mean, that's just such a cool way to end 2018.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt about it. The response for the record has been fantastic. The live response has been fantastic, and transposing the songs to live. For me, when I write the songs with JJ, I write the lyrics separately. So I write the lyrics just as the singer. I never think about playing and singing. So I end up having every album I've done, I've never sang and played those songs ever before that record's done. So I always have the job for the couple months after to have to learn to sing and play these songs. So there's always certain parts of songs that would just be they're the ultimate challenge, where I'm like, I don't know how long it's going to take me to be able to sing and play this stuff, but I do that on purpose because I like to approach the lyrics as just a lyricist, as a singer, not as a guitar player singer. So I feel like that's what gives a lot of the Hate Eternal songs character, is the fact that my ability to kind of separate myself from the guitar player and just be a singer and work on really creative and unique patterns. But at the same token, I have the job of having to sing and play this stuff, and some of the songs weren't so bad because I've been singing and playing guitar my whole career. I sang back up and played guitar and ripping chords. So it's something I've been doing forever since I started. So it comes natural. But there's certain songs where there'll always be a few riffs where I'm just like, oh my God, like, man. I mean, this record, there was one song called All Hope Destroyed, and it's a really challenging song. And like lyrically, I tried to keep it simple because it was more about the musicality rather than like the lyrics or the vocals. And still it's hard as shit. It took took me like, man, it was about 2 weeks before the tour where I finally was like, okay, I think I got it. But man, it was worrisome for a while because I was working on it for months. I mean, I sit on my couch, I play guitar, and I mouth the words. Obviously, the lyrics are straight in my brain, but I just sang them in the record. I just wrote them over the last couple of years. So, you know, I'm good with remembering lyrics, but just going through the process of singing and playing the stuff, sometimes it takes me weeks, sometimes months to really nail it in. So, but that's part of the challenge, and that challenge is what, once again, keeps me inspired and excited of doing this, because I like to be challenged, whether I challenge myself or someone else challenges me. I'm always up for the challenge, man.
Yeah, and that's just so great to hear that too. And you know, it makes me appreciate All Hope Destroyed even more. And that was that's one of my favorite standout songs on the album too. I mean, I absolutely love the ending to that. I just think it's such a great musical ending to it. I mean, just like hearing something like that on there. But you know, just like knowing the fact that it takes all the it took a little bit more of a challenge to be able to sing that and play guitar to it. I mean, it shows even more of what you're capable of with every subsequent Hate Eternal album and constantly pushing yourself. It's so great to see that you want to strive for that.
Oh yeah, I mean that's what keeps me inspired, is always wanting to do better. I mean, and it's frustrating sometimes because I'm not easily pleased. So like it's definitely a challenge to be myself sometimes because I'm so hard on myself. Like anytime somebody's like, man, you're pretty hard on, I'm hard on other people, like in the studio, to get the best, but man, I'm the hardest on myself. So I have to live with myself, but ultimately that's what pushes me to create better work and to be better at what I do, is just because I always feel like I can do better, and like upon Desloate Sands, I think, man, this record came out great, but automatically I know there's things I can improve for the next time, and so, I mean, that's just kind of how I operate, is I always look forward. I try not to live in the past, really focus on the present and the future. That's something that mantras that I live by is really trying to focus on that.
Oh, definitely. So with that in mind, I mean, do you have anything in mind yet for the next Hate Eternal album, or is that too soon?
Too soon. I have some ideas and, stuff like that, but it's really early stages of that. So, I mean, I always look at every record as, okay, I try to expand on every record a bit, upon the previous one. I think if you compare and Furnace to Desloate Sands, you can tell that there were certain ways that we did. Now, honestly, I don't think too much about it. I just kind of let natural occurrence happen. But the one thing I do think about always for every record is expanding the horizons of what we do, but never losing sight of who we are. So trying to encompass the history of the band, but also add in newer element into that band without completely changing who we are. And so that's about the only thing I ever think about. Otherwise, I just let really the natural cycle of creating this stuff flow, and pick the best material that JJ and I create and go from there. I don't put a lot of thought process into it. I really just let things go, kind of happen naturally and organically, and go from there.
So also with that in mind, obviously with writing and creating and stuff like that, I mean, obviously making that as organic a feeling as possible is a great way to go about it. But what about when it comes into the production standpoint?
Man, same thing. I mean, I guess like the production is where I'm really the most critical of everything, I guess, because I Hate Eternal Records, I'm doing it all, right? So, as far as, engineering, mixing, producing, so, every record I listen to, and like this record, for instance, one thing I really wanted to put a lot of emphasis on, that's something we all discussed too, was the guitars, is because there's just so much guitar work on this record. And really a vast amount of guitar stuff, like, really dynamic stuff. And that was a point of emphasis on this record, was making sure that the guitars were really clear, legible, dominant, and that's something that we focused on. And, each record, there's points of emphasis, I guess, but this record, really, a lot of it was based on the guitar work. And I think the guitars, man, it's my favorite guitar sound I've had on any of the Hate Eternal records, and some of my favorite solos as well. So it's definitely a building block, and I don't know where the next, I mean, holy crap, when I think of number 8 Hate Eternal record, wow, man, I mean, that just blows my mind. And, we have a live record, but that does, I don't count that as a studio album, of course. But, I mean, I always said when I first started Hate Eternal, and a lot of my friends know this, I always said, man, when I first started Hate Eternal, that I would never stop Hate Eternal until I'd done 10 albums. It's like something I always thought back in the mid-90s when I started, man, 10 albums is just an incredible legacy for a band if you could do 10 albums. And so it's something in my brain that's always been there. So here I am looking at number 8, and I'm like, well, man, I doubt it's not like I'm going to do album number 10 and stop. I mean, I can't imagine me not doing Hate Eternal. I mean, it's just, I love doing it, man. I'm very passionate about it, and I'm going to keep doing it as long as I feel that way.
Oh, absolutely. And that's the way to do it, too. I mean, as long as you got that creative juices that are going, and, you know, obviously with Upon Desloate Sands, Hate Eternal is the best it's been to this point, and that's got me excited for the next album to see where you and JJ go next and everything that's going to be going on with that. And when you hit that seminal 10th album, I can't wait to see what's going to be happening with the 11th album, knowing that you hit that milestone.
I know. Well, yeah, it's like, you know how I look at it? It's like, I look at this with the studio, and I look at this with Hate Eternal. It's like one album at a time, one tour at a time. And so I have like a hyper focus, actually, which is a pretty great quality. Sometimes it's a rough quality when you're like hyper focused on something, but you need to do something else. But I get so involved that I just dive into whatever I'm doing. But, you know, one album at a time for sure. I always think about that. Next album track, you know, album number 8. Be curious to see where it goes. And I know the one thing is that, you know, we did some different things on this record that really opened up a lot for Hate Eternal. You know, some of the slower, heavier tunes that we had never really done in the past. We did a little bit on Infernus, and we opened it up a bunch on this one. It just adds another element to the band and things that we can further pursue down the road.
Yeah, and I think that's why I'm so drawn to this new album, is exactly for that. I mean, it's got everything that I've loved previously about Hate Eternal, but obviously turned up to the best it can possibly be, but also that diversity, the musicality that's going on there. I mean, parts stand out so much on this album. I mean, there's like a great melodic moments that are going on amongst this brutality, and it's so great to see that.
Yeah, you know, it's like the melodic side of my playing is something that's always been there. And, you know, I guess with Hate Eternal, you know, when I first started Hate Eternal, I was still in Morbid Angel. I had a project called Alas that was a really melodic kind of project that I did many years ago. And I grew up in a classical family. So, you know, like the melodic side of my playing has always been there. I guess it's always just been a matter of how does it, you know, like it doesn't, like I said, I mean, like everything I do is kind of organically grown in a sense. So I never force the issue or anything of what I'm doing. And you know, with this record, a lot of that melody really came out, which was awesome. I was, you know, I'm really proud of that, and I'm always trying to tap into that. And luckily for me, this record, I was able to really dive deep into that.
And with that in mind as well, I mean, obviously, besides the amazing work that you do in Hate Eternal, and anytime that you have an instrument strapped on or you're singing, you also do amazing work when it comes to production for other bands as well. I mean, what's it like for you for inspiration and creativity to be able to help produce other bands?
Man, well, it's, you know, it's like playing and writing your own music and recording your own albums. Like, there's, man, that's just the best thing in the world. And then to be able to, you know, work with other bands and record their music and see and, you know, help bring their creation to life. Oh man, it's such an incredible feeling. And, you know, fortunately for me, I've been able to work with some amazing bands, you know, I mean, so many different bands and different genres of music even. And, you know, for me, that's just been something that it's just been so fulfilling. You know, anytime I go to the studio and, you know, I have like a hallway in the studio, the main hallway in the studio, and you walk in and it's just records everywhere. You know, when I first started the studio, well, I had a couple. You know, now it's like, you know, it's just, I'm thinking about how I'm going to have to like rechange everything I'm doing in there because the walls are completely packed. So I'm going to have to like move them closer to each other or something. Because I keep pumping out more and more records. But yeah, producing other people's music and records and being involved in that, and sometimes I'm more involved than others, and you know, but man, I'm always as involved as I can be, and it's definitely it's an amazing thing, and I'm so, you know, so fortunate that I've been able to work with so many great musicians and work on so many great records, and that's you know, part of my legacy, man. You know, is the records I've played on and the records that I've been able to fortunately produce.
And with that as well, I mean, coming up for 2019, is there anything lined up yet as far as production work?
Well, I have a couple records I'm doing next year, but I can't really comment on them until they announce, because that's just kind of how the process goes.
Oh, sure.
But I do have a few records that I'll be working on next year, and a few tours that we'll be doing as well next year that we will certainly announce as soon as they're finalized.
Again, it's so awesome to be able to be in your position where, you can go out and tour with these amazing bands, with such an amazing band, and then you're able to work with other bands as far as production work and stuff like that. I mean, getting to live like both sides of the musical dream like that and constantly improving yourself. I mean, knowing what you've done so far in 2018, I can't wait to see what's going to be happening in 2019.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. I got some really great things coming up next year, so I'm definitely excited to continue the process, man. And I got some great records I'm going to work on and have some great touring that I plan to do and get out there and play these songs.
Oh, that is just so perfect. And I think with that, I think that's a fantastic note to end on. Thank you so very much for taking the time to be able to talk to me about everything going on in the world of Hate Eternal, and of course the brand new album Upon Desloate Sands, which is available now through Season of Mist. Just wrapping up earlier this month an amazing tour with Cannibal Corpse, and now knowing everything to look forward to in 2019, be it touring, being albums that are yet to be announced that I'll be definitely waiting to hear your production work on. I mean, it was great to be able to talk to you about all of that, and I really appreciate you taking the time to be able to talk to me.
Hey, Josh, thank you so much for the interview. A pleasure speaking with you, and I hope you have a great holiday.